everyone, I'm Drew Goldfarb. Welcome to this edition of Betting for the Cycle, where we're giving you 4 picks for upcoming baseball games, matchups, or prop bets, and trying to go 4 for 4 to bet for the cycle. Here's how this works. I'll pose 4 potential wagers or daily fantasy comparisons. Our experts and I will each give you our picks and rank them based on how confident we are in the outcome. Least confident pick is the single, most confident pick, our home run. We'll each have a pick that we consider to be a home run, a triple, a double, and a single each and every week, giving us a chance at betting for the cycle. Our individual stats are being tracked all season long. You're going to see those pop up on the screen as well as we get going. And as always, I'm joined by Taylor Smith and Jim Beviglia. Guys, let's start with the game happening about 8 hours from the time of recording. The Philadelphia Phillies visiting the Arizona Diamondbacks. Each team picked up a starting pitcher at the trade deadline, and they'll go head-to-head on Wednesday night. Zach Gallen making his debut for the D-backs after coming over from Miami. Meanwhile, Jason Vargas makes his second start for the Phils since coming over from the Mets. Taylor, which team will win this game?
So Jason Vargas has a 3.93 ERA on the year, but his xFIP is over 5. He has a walk rate of 9%, and he's allowed a 38.4% hard contact rate. I have no idea how he's been able to maintain that sub-4 ERA. Zach Gallen is probably also due for regression, but he's a 24-year-old prospect with some substance, so I think he was a good pickup for Arizona. A single-game pick tends to be pretty volatile, though. So as much as I don't like Vargas and as much as I do like Gallen, I'm taking the D-backs, but I'm just going to make it my single.
Jim?
Yeah, usually I agree with Taylor about the volatility of the single game, but I'm actually taking the D-backs, and I'm actually going to make that my home run. I just hate the idea of Vargas going in there to face that Diamondback lineup. They really hit lefties well. Gallen, I agree with Taylor. I think there's some aggression coming there, but right now he's kind of first time through the league. He's surprising people. And, you know, I think the Phillies' best chance in this game, Freudian slip with Vargas used to be on the Mets, but I think their best chance in this game is if it gets to the bullpen because, Vargas probably only goes through the lineup 2 times, if that, and then they'll go to the bullpen. But I could really see the Diamondbacks jumping all over him to a big lead. And so I'm going to go all out with this one. I'm going Diamondbacks for a home run.
That's gutsy. This is obviously more complex than just picking the pitcher to perform better since it's about the game result. Both teams have been pretty average since the trade deadline. Phillies below 500 on the road, D-backs below 500 at home. Over the course of the season, though, Arizona's scored 54 more runs than the Phillies. They've allowed 38 fewer runs. Zach Gallen has only won 1 of his 7 starts this season, which is kind of surprising because he's only allowed more than 2 earned runs once. His biggest issue is his walk rate and also that he was playing for the Marlins before this. On the other end, Vargas won his last 3 starts as a Met, but didn't factor in a loss in his debut with the Phillies. I would take Gallen over Vargas, and I'm going to take the Diamondbacks over the Phillies as well, making it unanimous. I'm going to agree with Taylor and make it my single since it is just a single game pick. Arizona 18-15 against left-handed pitchers. I think they've got the offense to support Gallen and pick up the win. So for question 2, let's turn to a weekend series. Washington Nationals and New York Mets will meet for a 3-game set this weekend in Queens, while the Nats hold the top wildcard spot in the National League at the moment. The Mets are storming up the standings. Winners of 12 of their last 13. New York might actually prove this doubting Mets fan wrong and make a play out of the postseason this year. They're just a game and a half out of the wild card as we're sitting here. But the big question here is, which team wins the weekend series at Citi Field? Jim, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, normally I would go with the series as one of my confidence pick, but I went back and forth with this one. The pitching matchups, I mean, normally you would say the Mets are red hot. They're playing at home where they've been great, but, they have to go up against Strasburg. They have to go against Corbin. So it's really tough to pick against those guys. I am going to let the Mets, the fact that they've been so hot and they are playing at home, I'm going to let that kind of weigh in their factor, and that's going to be my pick. But those the Nationals pitchers scare me. So I'm going to go with the Mets, but I'm only going to make it my single in this one.
I'm taking the Mets, and I'm making it my double. We're looking at the pitching matchups. Friday favors Washington, Steven Strasburg facing Marcus Stroman. Saturday, I think, goes to the Mets. I'll get into it in a bit. Noah Syndergaard against Patrick Corbin. And then Sunday, Jacob deGrom for New York. Nationals yet to decide on who will start. That's not going to matter. I'm taking deGrom against pitcher TBD. And yes, Washington's won 7 of Corbin's last 9 starts, but that's exactly what the Mets have done when Syndergaard starts. He's also been re-energized by not being traded. He's an incredible Twitter follow if you're not already following Thor on Twitter. Mets are going to win the series, making it my double. Kind of a lower confidence pick just because they are both good teams. Washington's been good, and like Jim said, their pitching that they're putting up against the Mets could not be a better part of their rotation if they're trying to win the series. Taylor, which side are you taking?
I'm going to make it unanimous again, taking the Mets, also my double. Like you said, Sunday's game looks like it's going to the Mets with DeGrom against Joe Ross or Anibal Sanchez, somebody like that. Scherzer's on the IL, so it's not going to be him. So basically, if they win one of the other games, they presumably win the series. So I think that's kind of tilting it in the Mets' favor for me. So I'm going to ride the wave and take New York. It's not burned me yet, but I'm sure it will at some point.
Well, if it does, then it would just be, I'd say to you, welcome to being a Mets fan. But even though we know. Anyway, number 3, we've got a great series coming up this weekend in the American League Central. Cleveland Indians have made some strides towards solidifying their position in the postseason and their potential to make it. This weekend, they're going to face the division-leading Minnesota Twins for a 4-game series. The question here is this, since we can't really do a pick for a 4-game series, which pitcher will have the better daily fantasy performance this weekend? Shane Bieber for Cleveland, who's pitching on Friday, or Jose Berrios for Minnesota on Sunday? I'm up first. Minnesota 5-3 against Cleveland this season. Bieber has started 3 of those games for the Tribe, earning 1 win, 2 no decisions. K9 rate in those games about 10.5. He gets about 11 strikeouts per 9 innings overall this season. Berrios has 3 starts against Cleveland as well, 2 wins and a no decision. His K per 9, 10.6 in those games, way higher than a season average, which is just below 8.5. So here's what my pick comes down to. Recent performances. Bieber's earned 4 wins since July 1st, including 2 complete games. 5 out of 6 times he's pitched into or beyond the 7th inning. Berrios has 2 wins, 2 games where he completed the 6th, and hasn't pitched into the 8th inning since June. Both are decent DFS plays, I believe, for their individual days, but I'm going to take Bieber to be better. And kind of because of the way this week stacks up, I'm going to make it my home run pick. It's going to be a confidence pick. I do think they're both solid DFS plays, but Bieber, home run, not a sentence I would usually say, but obviously we're not talking about Justin. So Bieber's going to be the better pitcher. That's my home run pick. Taylor, what about you?
I'm also taking Bieber. I've always said strikeouts are the name of the game with DFS, and Bieber's been far better than Berrios in that aspect. 31% strikeouts for Bieber on the year. Berrios is down about 23%. Both are tough offenses. Neither strikes out a ton, but the Twins are at about 24% against righties, whereas the Indians are down around 20th. So it's a slightly better K matchup for Bieber. I think he's a better pitcher in general. Like you said, he goes deep into ball games. So all things considered, I like Bieber. It's my triple this week.
Jim, we going unanimous again?
We're going unanimous again. I'm going to make it my double. It's interesting because I think a lot of people have the impression that the Twins have this incredible offense, and they do, but I don't think they realize how good the Cleveland offense has been since June 1st. I mean, they've been at a top level, and they've only gotten better with the addition of Puig and Reyes. So it's no easy out for either pitcher. Taylor and Drew, you both mentioned the strikeout rate, and I think that's obviously in Bieber's favor. And I'm hoping that Nelson Cruz has the day off when Bieber pitches, because that's a concern the way he's been going right now. He might hit 3 all by himself and throw a wrench into our plans. But I'm going to go make it unanimous. I'm going to make it Bieber and make it my double pick.
Last one to complete the cycle. We're unanimous on our first 9 picks, which we did last week too. So let's see if we break from each other here. This one's going to get a little complex, so stay with me for a minute. Both the New York Yankees and the Atlanta Braves play 4-game road series this weekend against bottom feeders within their own division. The Yankees visit the Toronto Blue Jays, the Braves visit the Miami Marlins, and rather than pick a team to win the series, which team will win their series by a greater margin? The Yankees or the Braves? If both teams sweep, both sides pay out. If they tie and wins below a sweep, we'll go to run differential to break the tie. So Taylor, who wins in more dominant fashion this weekend?
I'm going to take the Braves. The Blue Jays have been playing better lately. They just called up Bo Bichette, who's been raking. They have a lot of young talent on this team. I think they can kind of play spoiler down the stretch a little bit. The Yankees are also super banged up. Stanton, Sanchez, Hicks, Encarnacion, and Voit all on the DL, among others. Gleyber Torres got hurt on Tuesday night again, so who knows what's going to happen with him. The Braves have some injuries of their own, but most of the key guys are healthy. I think the Marlins, their awfulness speaks for itself. So pretty confident here. I'm taking the Braves. It's my home run.
Jim.
Yeah, I'm going Braves as well. I'm going to make it my triple. It's interesting. Taylor mentioned the Blue Jays. The Yankees are on a winning streak, and I don't know how they're on a winning streak with the starting pitching that they're getting. I mean, guys just getting lit up night after night. They obviously outscore everybody, and I'm sure they'll outscore Toronto in one or two of those games. But Toronto's offense has just been really good lately. Those young players, you got Guerrero's really found it lately. Bichette, as he mentioned, Biggio. I mean, they're tough out for a starting pitcher, and the Yankees are getting no starting pitching right now. So I think the Marlins are kind of at a point now where they're starting to run a little bit dry. Their younger players may be hitting the wall a bit, and the Braves are kind of in a good groove right now. Taylor mentioned the health factor. So I'm going to go with Atlanta, and I'm going to make it my triple pick.
So a week ago, we were sitting here and we were completely unanimous through the first 11 picks that we had announced combined between the two of us. And I got up and it was my opportunity to make it 12 for 12. And I went in a different direction on it. This is my triple pick. And you know what? I'm going to go a different direction again. Because why not? I'm going to take the Yankees on it. When you go through the pitching, and it's time for me to butcher a few names, Thomas Pannone, Sean Reed-Foley, Jacob Waguspek, Trent Thornton is who the Yankees are facing. The Braves are facing Elieser Hernandez, Caleb Smith, Sandy Alcantara, and Hector Noesi. And I say all of that to say I don't think there's much of a challenge on either end. So here's where I'm drawing my conclusion. I understand the injuries to the Yankees. They've been hurt all year, and yet they've scored the most runs in baseball, 50 more than Atlanta. They're also 40-14 against their own division this year as of yesterday. Braves 28-18 against theirs. Both have teams that are competing for the wild card. They both have solid teams that are not just the bottom feeders in that division. Yes, the Mets being a fourth place team is a bit better than what the Yankees are dealing with when you're talking about having both the Orioles and the Blue Jays as opposed to just the Marlins. But as both of these teams should cruise the series wins, basically I'm looking at this, if they both win 3 out of 4, who's going to score more runs in the series? Because that's what we're basically going to. Is unless the Braves can sweep and the Yankees only take 3 out of 4, or 3 out of 4 for Atlanta and the Yankees only split the series, we're coming down to run differential. And for me, the Yankees are going to be able to power a bit more. I think that it's just going to be, I wouldn't bet against their offense. And I understand Bo Bichette coming up, but you know what? We got to change it up anyway. It's no fun to do this show if we all agree on literally every single pick. We're going to have to change the order for these questions in future weeks, because at least get the disagreement out of the way early before we just start going, yeah, I agree. Now we're on the last question. So before we wrap things up, speaking of agreeing, checking back in on our World Series picks, I've got Atlanta plus 400 to win the National League, Houston plus 170 to win the American League. At the moment, the Braves have moved down to plus 370. Obviously, I'm sticking with them at plus 400. Astros, meanwhile, now the heaviest betting favorites in either league, posting at minus 120 odds at the moment, at least, to win the American League. I'm going to stay with them at plus 170, not going to take those new odds. Taylor, you also have the Astros. They're locked in at plus 180 for you. You've got the Dodgers at plus 170. As I said, Houston minus 120. LA now minus 110 to win the NL. Any changes you want to make?
I can't change it because if I jump off, I'm not going to be able to get either of these teams at better value than I have them already. So no reason to dive off yet. So sticking with it.
Jim, you locked in the Astros a week ago and the Dodgers as well. Already went over LA's movement. The Astros were plus 150 when you locked them in last week. So, of course, again, they're now minus 120. Any changes you'd like to make?
Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with it. We talked a little bit about the Astros and the Yankees. The Dodgers, they're just annoying at this point. I mean, they get pitchers hurt. They bring up Tony Gonsolin, who nobody's really ever heard of, pitches 6 shutout innings, was throwing a no-hitter for a while. It's just an assembly line there in Los Angeles. So, I had them early, made the switch with the Astros after the trading deadline, and I'm going to stick with that.
That'll do it for this week's edition of Betting for the Cycle. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Odds On Favorites YouTube channel. And check back next week, where we'll show you the stats of how we did and give you our latest picks. For Jim Beviglia and Taylor Smith, I'm Drew Goldfarb. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.